Hello, this is Rochelle Henry, and I'm here with my lovely friend and colleague, Jill Braverman. Welcome, Jill.
Thank you. Hi, Rochelle.
Hi, it's so great to be with you today. I am I am so inspired by you and your transformational journey that I wanted to share you with everyone I know. So I'd love to just go right into it and have you share what was life like for you before you became a health coach and a fitness expert, and what were some of the challenges that you were facing around food and your body in that time?
Wow, totally different. Life was totally different. So I would say that my whole life really struggled with my mood. I just didn't feel very good much of the time. I was very moody and especially I would say had really bad PMS. And it's really odd because, PMS, most people would say maybe it's the week before, but for me, it really stretched out to like 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks.
Wow.
So it was like half my life, really. Half of the time I wasn't feeling good. And I really, at first, didn't make any connection at all between what I ate and how I felt for many years. And then, so that's kind of how it was before. That was my before. I was moody. I struggled with, I would say, like kind of a little bit of depression and a lot of anxiety. And I didn't really know, I didn't have a lot of skills to cope with those things. And so I just kind of lived with them, unfortunately.
Yeah. Wow. Just having a lot of compassion for that woman and all that she went through.
Yeah. Well, now I can look back and I feel that way about it. At the time, I think I really just thought that's how my life would always be. And I just dealt with it.
Yeah,
So,
I think so many people live their life like that. Well, I suffer from headaches or I suffer from this, and that's just the way that it is. And they just, do their best to manage their symptoms, but maybe there's another way. Maybe they could actually feel better. And I see you here looking beautiful and smiling at me, and I'm imagining you're feeling really good. So I would love to know, what was the turning point for you? What was the thing that gave you a new possibility for how you could feel in your body?
well, there were sort of little things that happened along the way that eventually led me to figure it out. And I would say the first one was I was living in New York City and I was working as a dancer. We have that in common, that we're both dancers. And my mood was really so bad that I was really seeking some help. So I started reading books, really books about PMS, because that's really what I thought it was. And I read this one book that suggested that you could take natural hormones that would improve your mood. So I actually sought out the guy who wrote the book, the doctor who wrote the book. And even though he was no longer seeing patients, he agreed to meet with me because I was so desperate. And I did meet with him. And the first thing he did was he asked me to talk about what I ate. And so I told him I would start my day with a glass of orange juice. That was my version of coffee. That would wake me up in the morning. Big glass of Tropicana Pure Premium, which I thought was healthy at the time. And then I would have some cereal. And again, it was like healthy cereal, quote unquote healthy. It was like the Kashi Goleen or the healthier versions of breakfast cereal with soy milk, because I was a vegetarian at the time, and that of course was sweetened. So there was a ton of sugar in my breakfast. And then I took him through the rest of my day and told him about, all the other sugary things that I would eat. And he said, well, the first thing is you have to cut out sugar. And I really didn't even hear him say that. It just went right over my head because I just thought, well, there's no way I could ever do that. So what else could I do? I didn't know anyone who'd ever done that. It just seemed like an impossible task to me. So I kind of just ignored that part and heard all the rest of it, which was, well, you could take this natural progesterone and, you could do this, that, and the other thing. And so, that was the first time I heard about it. And then it was at least 10 years before I ever actually tried to do it.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I did take the natural progesterone. It didn't work for me. It didn't help me. And then I just eventually ended up taking antidepressants. I was diagnosed with, PMDD, which is just a very severe version of PMS.
Right.
And I was actually in a study at Columbia University where they studied my symptoms. And that study was actually published. Somewhere in my files, I have a copy of it. And all the things that I had thought, really were wrong with me when I was, struggling with this, they really were proven to be actual things. They weren't just in my head. I would be clumsy and I would be moody and I would be tearful and I would crave different foods and I would be swollen and painful and just I was not fun to be around at all. So I still, even after being in that study, they didn't offer me any treatment or anything. So it was just to sort of gather information. But I did, once that was sort of validated for me, I decided to seek out a psychiatrist. And so I did take antidepressants for a short period of time. And they helped, but then they created other problems, as most medications do. I got side effect. I had every side effect that there could possibly be of any medication that I ever took. So the doctors would say, oh, we'll try a different one. And then I got into this thing of trying to wean off of one and try another one. And that creates more side effects and more imbalance in your body. So then I started not knowing what was the side effects and what was the PMS. And I eventually just decided it wasn't for me. So I went off of the medications and then, eventually I actually decided to go back to school to study nutrition at Integrative Nutrition, which is where we met, as you know. And even then, I was still eating a lot of sugar. And I was still really
Me too.
I know, right? But I started to really improve my diet. And my diet got cleaner and I eliminated I never ate breakfast cereal again after I went to IN. I just eliminated a lot of processed foods, which naturally, I think, decreased a lot of the sugar in my diet because, as you know, almost all processed foods are very high in sugar. So now the only sugars I was getting once I changed my diet through IIN were natural sugars. And so things got better, but they didn't get completely better. So I still wasn't satisfied that I had really found a solution. And then, so that was like the next level up. And then somehow I discovered you, and I'm not sure, I knew who you were, but I must have just been on your email list, and I got an email and started reading up on what you were doing and probably watched your video where you talked about your own struggles and passing out on the subway in New York, and I really related to that feeling. And so I just decided to try it on my own. I just decided to try cutting out sugar to see how I would feel. And I noticed that I felt better almost right away. So not just my mood, but also other things that I had never thought were related. I had a lot of joint aches and pains from old injuries and just from aging, which sounds crazy, but I think it's more inflammation than aging, right? I had inflammation in my body. And all of those things just really, it sounds too good to be true, but almost magically just disappeared and melted away once I really got the sugar out of my diet. And so, and then it just got better when I did the detox, did your sugar detox, and got off the gluten and the dairy, and I was already off of caffeine and alcohol, pretty much occasional alcohol, because I had discovered that those things weren't good for me either over the years through IAN. But yeah, so I feel like the sugar detox was kind of like the final number in the combination lock that caused the lock to open up for me, caused it to turn, I had all these pieces and they were kind of working but not really all working together until I really got serious about cooking for myself. That was a big one for me. I kind of just felt, even the first week, you might remember the first week of the sugar detox, I was kind of cranky about the fact that I had to cook all my food and I had to clean up all my own dishes. And I just felt like this is too hard. Someone should be doing this for me. I don't want to have to work so hard. But now I see it completely differently. Now I feel so blessed to be able to have the time and the resources and the energy to cook my own food, because I would rather eat my own food now than for most food I would grab out. Occasionally I like to go to a good restaurant. But just eating takeout food or junky food just really doesn't even appeal to me anymore. It's not a matter of having cravings for takeout food.
Yeah, well, that's a great reframe, because a lot of women who come to the sugar detox, they do have that resistance around cooking. And like you were saying from the very beginning, right? Processed food is convenient. Let's just be honest about that. It comes in a package ready to go. Well, how does it get there, right? It has to go through all kinds of processes to be ready to be in a package so that we can just shove it in our mouth. So being really honest with ourselves about what it takes to be well, and something that Lucas often says is, in order to be well, for us to be well, someone has to grow the food and someone has to cook the food. And so if we think about, like we can be responsible for what we buy, like voting with our dollar, and that's something that we learned very early on in our studies together.
Yeah.
And then the other piece is like who's going to nourish us? Like if I'm relying on a company to nourish me, I'm not going to get the same level of nourishment as if I take the actions and carve out the time to nourish myself. So I'm
Absolutely.
so glad that you changed that around for yourself and you reframed it, and now it's like it's a gift. You're like so grateful that you can cook for yourself and nourish yourself in that way. It's really powerful.
I am. And I just have to say, if I can do that, anyone can do that because I did not grow up with really a model of regular home cooking. There was home cooking, occasionally, and there were, of course, on special occasions, but there was a lot of processed food. That was the era that I grew up in when, convenience foods were really popular because, everyone was working full time, and why not heat up a frozen dinner or make, maybe there, homemade food would be made with like a can of cream of mushroom soup or, do you know what I mean? Like more convenience foods were in the home cooked food than they are now, or than they are in my house now. And so I didn't really have that. And so I don't have any idea what I ate before. I don't really understand how I fed myself before this, but I'm really grateful now. And I'm not a great cook. Like I wouldn't say I'm a gourmet cook by any means, but I've definitely learned to make, basics and simple things. And it doesn't really have to be that complicated. As long as I feel I have good ingredients, I don't have to do very much to them. They actually taste better that way. So, yeah, it's good. I like it. It is definitely investing in myself. I feel the time that I spend to cook and clean is like, it's a gift to me. Like if I had someone coming to my house for dinner, I wouldn't serve them takeout food, right? Like I would go and I would go grocery shopping. I would buy the best things I could buy, and I would look up a recipe, and I would make the table look nice and clean my house and do all that. And now I do that just for myself. If I can have somebody here to share it with me, that's great. But it's not just for that. It carries over to other things in my life as well. Making my bed in the morning and keeping my house straight because I like it. And when I come home, I'm like, oh, welcome home, instead of like, oh God, here's my pile of laundry and here's my pile of paperwork and all that. So it's really like the whole piece of nourishing myself and pampering myself has also definitely been a journey, and it kicked into high gear with the detox for sure. So because it was my homework, I had to do that, right? And I'm a rule following person. So I do my homework, I do it.
Well, that's amazing. And I'm so grateful that you shared. I mean, you think about like how you were feeling before, and then your whole, multiple year journey of toying with taking sugar out and reaching the next level and the next level. And then also with the sugar detox, helping you to see that cooking for yourself is a gift, and then also where it spills out into other areas of your life, right? Like if you're keeping your body temple really clean and, nourished, how does that spill over into your work, and how does that spill over into your home life, right? Like you were saying, making your surroundings very comfortable and inviting. Yeah, I mean,
I want to say something about that because actually this is a part I left out when I was talking about my journey is really the big catalyst for me all along to get a handle on my mood was my relationships, because I felt that I would meet these great men, and I've had wonderful relationships, great men in my life, and every last one of my relationships I feel like that my mood and my inability to regulate my emotions definitely played, a really big part in the end of those relationships, or just in sort of, taking things to a place where there wasn't a lot of good feelings left at the end. And I never wanted to be that way, but I didn't know how to stop. So, I will say that I was divorced 3 years ago, or separated 3 years ago, and been divorced for about a year and a half. And it's been such an incredible journey because now I'm in a new relationship, and I'm coming to it with a completely different set of tools. Like, I just can't even believe I feel like a different person in this relationship. I'm so much more pleasant. I feel so much more in control of my reactions to things. I'm responding instead of reacting, and, if I have a cranky moment, I know how to handle it, and I know that eating a cookie isn't going to help that situation, or, it's just going to make things worse. So, yeah. And I don't have to put everything off. I'm like, oh, well, it's that time of the month thing, which is a very real thing. But men oftentimes think that women just say that to get out of, doing what they want to do, or to get out of responsibility for an argument or whatever. So I'm here to say, I believe you. It is a really real thing, and you don't have to suffer from it for, really at all. That's what I think.
Yeah, amazing. And you're living proof of that.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And I can really relate to that. I mean, with the moodiness and the really awful periods, like I had all of that too. And it's been so much, like my body has reacted so much kinder to that since being off of sugar. And I know what a difference it made for me. And I'm so glad it made that difference for you too.
Yeah, thank you. I still get cravings, but now I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to have a green smoothie now. Or, like I must eat 3 apples with almond butter. Like, that's okay. If that's the worst thing I do, then that's pretty good. So
I love it. Yeah, it's just shifting it a bit. And then also being in touch with, well, what's actually going on inside of me? Am I really physically hungry, or is this, am I, like you were saying, reacting versus responding? What am I reacting to that has me wanting that? Or am I having low blood sugar? Like, is it time for me to eat? So being able to just decipher what the message is that the body's giving, and then responding appropriately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would say that about the low blood sugar thing, I used to feel a lot of times like I would get to a point pretty quickly after eating where I had to eat again, or I was going to, it was going to be bad news. And everyone in my life knows, like, don't let Jill get too hungry. But the thing is, I don't really have that anymore. Like, now I just get a little hungry. Like, my stomach gets hungry and I'm like, oh, I'm hungry. And I don't feel frantic about where's my next meal going to come from, partially because I've planned my meals, so I know where my next meal is coming from. Mm-hmm. But also because I think my blood sugar is just more even. Mm-hmm. I'm probably eating more good fat. I know I'm eating more good fat and more protein and less carbs in general, less processed carbs. So I think my blood sugar is just more even throughout the day. So I'm very unlikely to get that feeling anymore. Yeah. Like, watch out, I'm hungry, that feeling.
The hungry, angry, like, I'll eat your arm if you don't give me some food now. Yeah.
Right. Like, if you don't feed me now, I'm going to say something I will later regret. I don't really get that anymore.
I totally get you. Yes. Been there so many times.
It's really cool.
So
thank you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing everything. And I have one more question. Okay. It's really a curiosity that I have. Okay. I would love to know what inspired you to accept my invitation to join the Sugar Mama team. What excites you about joining in the sugar detox?
Right. So I would say I'm very excited, and so I'm a health coach already. I see private clients, and a lot of them struggle with sugar, among other things. And I would say that until I really got a handle on it myself, I wasn't nearly as able to help people with that issue. So I feel now I'm much better equipped to do that, because I can speak from personal experience, and I'm walking the talk every day. And also, I think I know I mentioned this to you, and you're really excited about this. One of the things that I did for my 15 minutes of movement in the morning, well, it's not really movement, but one of the things I did with my lemon water and my intentions was to meditate every morning during the detox. And I just felt like I really got clear about what I want to do and what I want to contribute, and feeling like this coaching piece of what I do, because it's just one of the hats that I wear, is a piece that I really want to grow and that I really want to help as many people as I can. Mm. And I remember an analogy in nutrition school. I don't know if you remember this one, that if you have information that could help someone and you don't share it, it's kind of like, well, this is a bad analogy for the sugar detox, but it's kind of like if you had a really good chocolate chip cookie recipe and you didn't share it with anyone. Like, it's selfish in a way if you know something really good and you don't share it with people. So I just wanted to reach as many people as I can. And then this opportunity presented itself. And also I just think in that vein that when one area of your life kind of clicks in place and you get that area under control, then everything else is affected. So I call it the upward spiral. So like when things are going well in my own health, then my career goes better. And when my career is going better, then my relationships go better. And my relationships go better, then my spiritual practice feels better. And so everything kind of spirals upward. And so I see this opportunity as proof of that, right? Because I was taking really good care of myself. And then I'm like, okay, this is this area of my career that I want to expand. And then suddenly you called and said, hey, do you want to do this? And I was like, yes. Do you remember? I was like, yes. I don't even need to hear the details. I definitely want to do it. So yeah, so it's really cool. Very excited.
I'm so excited. And one of the other hats that you wear in addition to being a health coach is you're a fitness expert, and you have a great following in Boston. And that's one of the pieces that I feel is like one of my greatest challenges. Like if I'm not going and teaching a class somewhere, like how do I get my fitness in? And I think that's something that a lot of women struggle with. Like, we all have our challenges, but for some people it's like, oh, I've got to find that 2-hour chunk of time in my week where I can drive to the gym and go to the gym and then shower afterwards and get dressed and then go to work. Like that's not an ideal scenario for everyone. And so one of my intentions in bringing you on is to help fill that piece, like to really help people see how they can make fitness real in their life, and make it fun and enjoyable, but also deep. I know you're a deeply spiritual woman, and I think a lot of us think that exercise is something that we like have to do, like gotta burn the calories. And I think there's something about we talked about like cleansing our body temple, right? But like honoring our body temple with movement too, to like lubricate joints and to have whatever we're doing, whatever way we're moving, be like an offering in a way. So I'm excited to have your expertise and your guidance personally, and for all the women in our community too.
Careful what you wish for, Michelle. I'm just kidding. I'm like the gentle trainer. I mean, I definitely push people and they get great results. And my motto is how most people say no pain, no gain? I just don't believe in that at all. No pain, no pain is my motto.
No pain, no
and that's
pain.
in yoga especially, but even in training, like in exercise, whatever you want to call it. You should do something that you really like to do, that feels good. And when I say feels good, like you can have muscle fatigue, and some people find that to be painful, but you don't want to do anything that's hurting your joints or that's irritating an injury, or that just intuitively you feel like is bad for your body. Mm-hmm. And inevitably, I mean, that's the people who are drawn to come to my yoga classes or to work with me are people who, maybe they know they want to exercise, but they're not really sure what they can do safely, or they're really just starting out. And so they want to get some ideas of how to move. And I just feel like if you're not enjoying it, then it's just like food, right? Like you need to eat healthy, but if you're eating food every day that just tastes bland and blah to you and it doesn't excite your taste buds, just the same thing with exercise. You're not going to stick with it. If you don't really like to do, at least like it. Maybe you don't love it at first, but you don't hate it, right? So recently during the detox, I actually started going to jazzercise with one of my clients, actually, who's become a friend. I invited her. My sister teaches jazzercise. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. And it's like an hour of laughing. My cheeks hurt so bad at the end of class because it's like all this old music and like silly dance moves. And even though I'm a dancer, like it's still challenging for me to learn the moves really quickly. And so, that's just one example, but it could be anything. We have these little trampolines at work and people bounce on the trampolines, or, I have lots of ideas.
Yeah, that's great. So for jazzercise, do you have to wear like the 80s sweatband and the like bands and the leg warmers and like the leotard?
No, it's really fun, but leg warmers are back in. I'm like the only person where I work at the gym who's not wearing leg warmers. I should get some.
And then wear them to jazzercise.
And wear them to jazzercise. Yeah, like if putting on a silly outfit makes you enjoy your workout, then put on a silly outfit. Like, or take all our clothes off and dance around the house, like whatever makes you happy.
I'm a huge advocate for dance party. Naked dance party totally takes it up to the next level. Awesome. Well, Jill, you don't have to wash
clothes afterwards, your sweaty clothes. If you
that's true. You just jump in the shower. Well, I am. We could just go on and on, but
we're not going to demonstrate that, though.
What's that?
We're not going to demonstrate that one.
No, we're not going to. No, we're not going to demo that one. That's like on your own if you feel called to that. But I'm really excited to have your expertise and your wisdom in the group. And I know that there's probably a lot of women who are watching this video that can really relate to your story. And yeah, I just think it's phenomenal that you get to be free from all of the mood imbalance and the PMDD that you experienced in the past. And like, you know, if you could sum up the way life is for you in like 2 or 3 words now, like what got to be available to you that wasn't there before?
That's a really good question. I think I would say that I just feel at peace in my own body. I don't feel I'm at battle with my brain or my physical body. So I just feel like content.
Yeah.
And that's really a huge relief. It's like a big exhale. It's like, oh, it's so much easier now. It's really a lot easier. It's crazy that I didn't know this, 20 years ago. But anyway, I know it now, so.
Yeah, well, we don't know what we don't know.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Until we do, and now you do. And who would you wish this contentment and at peace in their body? Like, for whom would you wish that?
I wish that for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think that everyone, I obviously have I work mostly with women, so just works out that way. But I think, men struggle with these things too.
They do.
We all have hormones. They're not just sex hormones, or they're, adrenaline and cortisol are hormones as well. And everyone has endorphins and all that. So I think, really anyone who this is what I think, anyone who really wants to feel better, it's possible to feel better than you already feel. And like, even I feel great now. I'm sure there's something else I could do that would make me feel even better, so there's always room for improvement. And I still have my moments, occasionally I, eat something and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that again, and I learn. And actually your motto of progress, not perfection, is huge for me. I never really thought about it that way, but yeah, so just be a work in progress. That's what I hope for people.
Yeah, really beautiful, Jill. Well, thank you so much for being with me today and for sharing yourself with numerous people who I imagine are going to be watching this. And I'm so excited to partner with you in the upcoming Sugar Detox and make lots of beautiful magic and music together in the coming months. So I'll be seeing you and talking with you really soon. And thanks again.
See everybody soon. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.